Let me start off by explaining what it is I'm trying to achieve here. Behind me is a 60-inch plasma television that is actually beginning to fail at the moment. We've got lines going up and down the panel on the right hand side there. So it's about time I replaced it. However, if I am replacing it, I'm going to be looking for another 65-inch television. The reason I'm going 65 inches is because when you get beyond that size, the prices go ridiculous. And to be honest, watching your normal television, your normal programs or the evening news or whatever, I don't really want to be watching that on a 80-inch screen. It's only movie night when I want to watch something on a big screen, and then even 80 inches doesn't really seem big enough. A good 100-inch or 90-odd-inch screen seems about right in this place for movie night, and that would actually fill virtually this entire alcove, so that would be just perfect. Now, I did used to have a projector in here. I used to have a screen that I pulled down from the ceiling here, and I had a projector I put on a stool at the back of the room, so that was movie night. Bit of an effort to set it up though. Since we've decorated the room, there's nowhere really that I want to hang the screen from again. It was pretty ugly, and also having a projector at the back of the room meant that I had to have a stool there and balance it on books and things, and again rearrange the room since it doesn't really fit. So the room is also too short to have like a projector lift, and of course those things cost a fortune. Electric screens that come from the roof, those cost a fortune as well. But I still want my massive 90-odd-inch screen. So I'm going to show you how I go about achieving that, bearing in mind all the things that I'm trying not to have in the room, and yet still have the massive screen at the front. So let's see how I get on. Now, of course, while you can get cheaper fixed projector mounts and electric retracting screens, I was looking at things there that hid within the ceiling. But to be honest, those wouldn't work in my house anyway, because the ceiling voids are much too shallow. I also have a pretty small house, no room to put an extra home cinema in there anywhere, so everything's got to fit around this area. I don't really want to do all that rewiring, putting stuff through the ceiling, plastering, all that kind of stuff. It's got to keep the missus happy as well. So everything's got to fit within this area with the minimum of fuss. Now this is a 95-inch screen. I believe I'll have links to this in the description. The reason I chose this one, it's a pull-up screen. Now the concept is I'm going to have this behind this cabinet here and be able to pull it up in front of the television rather than pull it down from the ceiling. The reason I chose this one, as well as the fact it perfectly fits within my alcove with about that much to spare at the end, it's because it's thin. You can see here it's a narrow device. Now if you get an electric one of these, they do electric riser screens, prices seem to start at around about £1,000, whereas this is 200 and odd quid. That's one good reason to choose this, but the electric ones are a lot wider. Now, I mean, we're talking that wide, so if I was to put that behind there, this cabinet would have to come right out into the room, and really I'm trying to have this as discreet as possible. So I've picked this particular Optoma screen, and I'll just show you how it works. It's got well, it's got these legs that twist around to start with to give it added stability, so I'll just turn those. And then we've got this pole at the back here which clicks into place, and that goes up so you can hold the screen from that at different heights. And then the screen itself just pulls out to the bottom, pulls up, and just clicks on top there, like that. So that's your projector screen. Now it does go a lot higher than that, but you can see the size of this compared to the television behind. Completely different experience. So let's see if I can get this behind the television cabinet. Now, I haven't completely discounted the idea of getting an electric rising floor screen at some point in the future, but it's got to be at the right price, the right size, and available in the UK. But at least this setup gets me up and running. So reaching up to that top bit there is a little bit tricky. I'm 6 foot tall and only can just about reach it. I think the fact I'm reaching over the top of this cabinet makes it a little bit more difficult. I'm a little bit concerned about that bar banging into the television as well, so I'm going to have to put some padding or something on the back of that. But anyway, we've got the projection screen in place now, so let's tie this up with the front projector. Now the projector I've got is the LG Minibeam UST. Now that's the Korean name for this. I've imported it from Korea. In the West it's more commonly known as the LG PF1000U. Notice the UST, that stands for ultra short throw. It's capable of throwing an image up to 100 inches in diagonal from just a few inches away from the wall. It's an LED DLP projector, does 1080p. It's got a built-in digital TV tuner, but mine will only work in Korea, but I wasn't planning on using it anyway. Bluetooth audio out, it's capable of 3D as well. I'll show you some more features on it in a moment. Now, at the time I'm making this video, which is early October 2015, this particular projector is not yet available in the UK, so I had to import mine. Now, I went on Amazon.com, but there were no US suppliers that would send to the UK, so I got it on there, but from a South Korean supplier. Now, that means that the software on mine is designed for Korea rather than US or even the UK, so bear that in mind when I go through some of the features later on. Now, let's just have a look what's inside the box here. Well, the first thing is the power adapter. You can see it's multi-voltage, so no problems plugging that in. It's got a standard cloverleaf plug there, so I can just swap out the supplied lead with one that will work in the UK, no problem. Other items in the box are breakout leads for the composite and component video connectors, as well as an LG Magic remote, and of course the instructions, which are no use whatsoever to me because they're entirely in Korean. And then finally we've got the projector itself, which as you can see is a very compact unit. Now, ultra short throw projectors are pretty hard to come by. The only other one that I'm really familiar with being on the market like this is the Philips Screenio, but that only does 720p, whereas this goes up to 1080p. Now, it's got stereo speakers built in, 3 watts, a bit tinny of course. Headphone out, we've got the component in and AV in there. I'll show you what that looks like when you connect the leads up to those. Of course, you need to plug both of them in if you want the stereos to go in one and then the video to go into the other, so they go side by side. We've got the optical digital out there to plug it into your home surround system. Twin USB sockets enabling you to plug in a memory stick with your own files on it. I've played back MKVs and MP4s, they play just fine. We've got a LAN connector there for a wired network. It's also got built-in Wi-Fi, an HDMI socket there, and another one on this side next to the power input there. And then we've got an antenna. It does have a built-in digital tuner. Mine won't work in the UK because it's only going to pick up South Korean frequencies, so that's no use to me, but I wasn't going to use it anyway. We've got an infrared receiver there if you had it mounted this way around, but that would be for back projection. You'd tend to have the projector mounted the other way so the mirror points towards the screen, so that's the infrared receiver on that end next to a power indicator light. On the bottom, the 4 grey circles here, those are adjustable feet, which you can adjust up and down just by screwing in and out a little bit, and that enables you to just get it flat on the surface that you're putting it on. And then in addition, we've got these 3 screw holes, and that's so that you could mount it to a ceiling if you want, and you can flip the image the other way up. On the top here, there's a little joystick type thing. It's a 4-way controller, and you can push it down to click and select things. And then in front of that you see a focus wheel, and as I turn this you can see the lens unit just pop in and out a little bit there. And then check out this selection of logos for all the different standards it adheres to, included in which are Bluetooth audio out, so you can put an external speaker on this if you want, Miracast that you can send things from your Android device, etc. Now, it also does 3D using DLP link glasses. It doesn't come with any, but I've got some from another earlier projector. I've tried those out and they work straight away, no problem. And then finally, the remote that comes with it is the LG Magic remote, as it's known in the UK. You can see we've got a scroll wheel on here which we can click in. We've got a 4-way direction pad. It's the exact same ones you get with LG televisions. The DLP link is the 3D button. And I'll just show you side by side with what I've got from an LG television myself. So you can see it's the same model exactly. And this projector really does think it's a television. It has a lot of features in it which work just like a TV. I'll plug it in and show you. Now, before I take it into the lounge, I'm just setting it up in my studio here on the white wall behind. So going through a bit of a process. First off, connect it up to the Wi-Fi. That's entirely optional, but I thought it might be useful to do. And it's very easy to type with the on-screen keyboard and that remote control. And I've connected up to my 5 GHz signal without any problem at all. And then there's a bit of a mini tutorial so that you can get some practice with using the Magic remote control. Now, the first thing I tested was playing back some video files from a USB stick, and there was no problem at all playing back MP4s or MKV files in 1080p. Now, the file system the projector recognises are FAT32 and NTFS, which means I can play back larger MKV files over 4 GB. It won't recognise EXFAT or Apple's HFS Plus formats. Now I'm measuring there how big the screen is when I put the projector right up against the wall, and the smallest size screen I can get is 48 inches. Now this is an LED DLP projector that can output 1000 lumens. It does still have a fan in it, and you'll be able to hear that now, but bear in mind that the projector is going to be at the front of the room and you're going to be sat at the back of the room. Normally a projector will be just behind your ear or just above your head, whereas on this occasion it's going to be at the opposite end of the room. So I find that I can't really hear the fan when I'm watching a film. Now as far as controls go, I wouldn't use this thing for anything other than switching it on and off. It's a little bit fiddly trying to pick the right thing. I mean, if you can't find the remote, fine, but really you're better off using the remote if at all possible. Right, finally time to get it set up in the lounge. Now this was all a bit of a gamble. I wasn't sure whether it was going to fit properly as far as the height of the cabinet and the screen height and things, but everything seems to work out fine. There's a few little adjustments I need to do here. As you can see, there's lots of different things you can set, most of which are TV type stuff, but there are some things designed just for this projector. For example, you can choose where you want the sound to go, out to the optical, out to the Bluetooth, out to the external speaker, or not have any sound on at all, of course. And then if we go down here, we can see we can have the projector mounted at the front or at the rear. You've got the option to turn on an automatic keystoning, which will make it line up better with your screen, but of course it tends to soften the image a little bit. You're better off trying to line the projector up as best you can rather than using that, and then use these edge adjustments just to get it matching with the corners of your screen. Of course, there's additional options in here to do with the Wi-Fi Direct, so you can send a wireless video signal to this over Intel's WIDI, or is that WIDI? I'm not too sure how you'd pronounce that. That's the Miracast thing, and of course we've got the 3D options, and it does all sorts of 3D side-by-side, over, under, all that kind of stuff. Now, I mentioned earlier on, it works exactly like a smart television, and the operating system at times thinks it's a smart TV. It says, welcome to your smart TV, things like that. And of course you can browse the internet on it. It does also have voice recognition on the remote control, which I'll demonstrate to you now. Techmoan.com. Okay, close enough I suppose. Oh, techloan.com, that's a callback to an earlier video. Right, anyway, so you can view the internet, all that kind of stuff. You can even have the video playing in the corner there that's coming through from the HDMI, as well as view the internet at the same time. I've got no intention of using any of these smart features. I just wanted a projector. If I want to do any of this kind of stuff, I'll do it on a laptop or on my Mac Mini, which is attached to this device anyway. And of course you can play YouTube on this. That's slightly more useful, I suppose. You can get into the YouTube app. It's a little bit hard to navigate like all these TV based ones are, but I can get around my channel here and play back any of my videos on the screen in full 1080p, 90 odd inches across. So it all works. That's fine, but I don't think many people are going to buy a projector and use all these smart features. But if you want any of them, needless to say, it does pretty much everything. Okay, I've got it all set up now. What do you think of that? That's a 95-inch diagonal screen projected up from just 2 feet away. Pretty impressive, really. There are a few things I want to mention first. I've got the lights shining on me here. I've still got lights on in the room so that you can see me, which will make the screen look a little bit washed out, so you've got to bear that in mind. Also, this screen does have a few compromises to it. I can see a waviness to it. If I look along it here, it doesn't have an awful lot of tension in it, and that's because it's a pull-up screen. I've noticed more tension in pull-down screens, and of course I did have a little bit of a problem mounting it up on the top there. I'd imagine though, with a bit of practice I'd get more used to doing that, and I can always swap the screen out, of course, if I find something a little bit more suitable down the line. Another thing about that screen, notice here, nothing being projected at the bottom. That's because it's a 16:10 ratio screen, which is more suited for office use. For home use we tend to use a 16:9 ratio. Not a big deal though, because most films I watch tend to be the big blockbusters, 2.35 to 1 ratio quite often, which means that they're just filling up the centre part of the image anyway, so you tend to have unprojected sections top and bottom. And with your light switched off, you won't notice where this bit of black vinyl finishes and this unprojected part of the screen starts. I thought I should show you what this looks like with the lights in the room switched off. So as you can see on the watch face here, the black areas are looking a little bit brown, but as soon as I flip the light switch we get those nice inky black colours again. It's It's a really good projector. I haven't noticed any rainbow effect despite the fact it's a DLP projector. I have experienced that on previous models of DLP projectors, but not on this one. Now that's what the plasma looks like in comparison. So a 60-inch plasma now looks a little bit pathetic when you compare it to the other one. I've really enjoyed watching films on this. I've already watched a couple and they've been great. It's brought the fun back to movie night. Now there are a couple of little minor issues. It only goes into standby, as you can see from the little LED here. If you want to switch it off, you have to turn it off at the wall. Also, dust. Notice this area here, that's just going to collect dust. It's like a dust trap, and there's no cover for it. I thought it might have a cover in the box or something, but no. So at the moment, I'm just going to have to cover that up with a little bit of a cloth until I can figure something out a little bit more sensible. You don't really want to leave that just sitting out in the open. So there you go, that was the LG PF1000U Minibeam UST projector. Of course, much more expensive than a comparable performance 1080p projector that you could put at the back of the room, and if you can mount one there, then you might as well do that instead. However, this is ideal for someone like me that wants to have a projector at the front, have a large screen, be able to hide everything away pretty quickly without upsetting the missus too much. Also ideal for someone perhaps in rented accommodation. Anyway, if you want to know more about this particular projector or the pull-up screen that I've featured, there's links in the video description, and you can also purchase one there if you want as well. But anyway, that's it for the moment. As always, thanks for watching.